The 27th of October, 2024, Sunday edition. Here we go. Tonight's top picks, true sensational style. NYC subway submerged in sea of tears. Boston UN bambinoed, curse shattered like fine china. US sailor silenced in Sasebo, Pentagon says oops. And coming up, later in the program, we go exclusive on cats using computers. How did Whiskers the investigative tabby purchase 100-acre Arkansas property with a wire card? Those are the headlines. Always the truth. And tomorrow.
Udine News Bang, stripping the blarney from today's headlines. 1904.
Absolute chaos erupted in New York City today as thousands of citizens voluntarily descended into holes in the ground, following a bizarre Pied Piper scheme dubbed the subway. Over 100,000 people queued for hours to be herded into underground tunnels, many believing they were being led to a magical realm of cheaper housing and reliable Wi-Fi.
The 9-mile tunnel, constructed by an army of moles trained in civil engineering, connects City Hall to Harlem in what experts are calling a deliberate attempt to make everyone late for work. Eyewitness Gertrude Pimplestock described the scene. "First time I saw them electric lights underground, I thought I'd died and gone to Edison's workshop."
The revolutionary transport system has already claimed its first victims, with several top hat-wearing gentlemen getting their facial hair caught in the automatic doors. Meanwhile, rats across the city have filed a class action lawsuit, claiming blatant theft of underground real estate and unauthorized tunneling into established rodent neighborhoods.
Mayor George McClellan, who personally drove the first train, had to be forcibly removed from the controls after refusing to stop for 6 hours, screaming choo-choo, while passengers begged to be let off.
80 days. 2004.
Scenes of mass hysteria grip Boston tonight as thousands of baseball enthusiasts celebrate the lifting of an ancient curse by throwing themselves into the harbor. The Red Sox, a team so unlucky they once lost a game to a flock of migrating geese, have finally won something.
The curse, placed on the team by an angry hot dog vendor in 1918, was dramatically broken when the Sox defeated their arch-nemesis, the Yankees, in what witnesses describe as basically witchcraft. Local resident Bernie, the Beans McGillicuddy, claims he saw the ghost of Babe Ruth himself weeping into a plate of clam chowder.
Medical authorities report a surge in heart attacks as lifelong fans, many of whom had given up hope of ever seeing victory, suddenly realized they had nothing left to complain about. "What am I supposed to do now?" asked 92-year-old superfan Mabel Higgins. "Actually enjoy the game."
The team celebrated by performing an ancient ritual involving beer, champagne, and what appeared to be several gallons of illegal moonshine. Police report that 17 people have been arrested for attempting to marry the World Series trophy.
1992.
Shocking scenes from Japan today as the US Navy announced plans to investigate why their ships keep filling up with prejudice. The announcement follows the tragic murder of Petty Officer Alan Schindler by 2 shipmates who apparently couldn't tell the difference between serving their country and serving their own bigotry.
The Navy, struggling to explain why some sailors think shipshape means violently heterosexual, has implemented new measures including mandatory tolerance training and a complete ban on being a massive bastard.
Local witness Tomoko Yamada reported seeing 3 men enter the public toilet, but only 2 emerge. "Very suspicious," she said. "Usually in public toilets, more people come out than go in."
The incident sparked what experts are calling a sudden outbreak of common sense in Washington, leading to the don't ask, don't tell policy, which roughly translates to "we know you're there but we're covering our eyes" and humming loudly.
Schindler's mother, now armed with righteous anger and a collection of very strongly worded letters, has since dedicated her life to making sure the military remembers that bullets don't check your sexual orientation before saving your life.
A new news bang, holding up a factual mirror to the world's collective BS.
And now, with a weather report that promises to be as unpredictable as a squirrel in a sock drawer, here's Shakanaka Giles.
Well, it's going to be a right old autumnal muddle tomorrow, isn't it? In the south, expect a drizzly mess, like a toddler with a runny nose. Bring your wellies, lest you end up with soggy socks, the kind that make you want to scream, "Blast this weather at the heavens." Now, up north, the skies will be a bit more cooperative, with a smattering of sunshine. Lovely weather for a stroll, as long as you don't mind the leaves crunching underfoot like a symphony of crackly biscuits. And let's not forget the Midlands, where the wind will be whipping about, determined to steal your hat and send it on a journey. Batten down the hatches, lest you end up looking like a disgruntled scarecrow. Oh, and before I forget, it's Halloween this week, so keep an eye out for any mischievous spirits, the kind that might just tip your bin over or leave a trail of ectoplasmic goo on your doorstep. Spooky, I know, but par for the course in this autumnal wonderland.
In 1942,
Hold on to your rising suns. It's 1942 and those Japanese chaps have just pulled off a victory so costly, it makes a night out in London look like a bargain. They sunk a Yankee aircraft carrier but lost most of their pilots in the process. It's like winning a hot dog eating contest, but getting indigestion for the rest of your life. We go live now to our man on the smouldering seas, Brian Bastable, who's dodging kamikazes and contemplating the meaning of Pyrrhic victory. Brian, what in Hirohito's name is going on?
Martin, the Pacific Ocean is having a right royal barbecue today. The air is thick with smoke, the water's bubbling like a witch's cauldron, and the only thing more common than sharks are burning aircraft parts. Those Japanese chaps are celebrating their victory by turning themselves into human fireworks. It's a spectacular show, Martin, but the ticket prices are a bit steep. I've just witnessed 17 Japanese pilots performing what can only be described as synchronized diving directly into our ships. The artistic impression scores are coming in rather low, I'm afraid. The USS Hornet is now a rather impressive underwater sculpture, attracting more fish than a 5-star sushi restaurant. I just saw a Japanese pilot attempt a landing on what he thought was a carrier, but turned out to be a particularly large whale. Let's just say he won't be trying that again. The sea itself appears to be mostly on fire, which is technically impossible, but I suppose nobody told the ocean that. A moment ago I saw a man catch fire underwater, which really is taking operational flexibility a bit far. The American commanders are looking about as happy as a geisha at a sumo wrestling convention. They've lost a carrier, half their air crew, and their supply of decent coffee. The Japanese, on the other hand, have only lost everything. It's a victory so hollow you could use it to store your sake. I've just been informed that half of Japan's experienced pilots are currently feeding the fish. A Pyrrhic victory, they're calling it, though I doubt the Pyrrhics would have been quite so enthusiastic about the whole business. This is Brian Bastable, Newsbang, signing off from a battlefield where the only survivors are the cockroaches, and they're starting to look a bit nervous.
This steht in the Stone, 1999.
Breaking news from 1999 as Armenia's parliament descends into unprecedented chaos. 8 people, including the Prime Minister and Parliament Speaker, gunned down in what observers are calling the day democracy took a coffee break. Armed men, led by a journalist, who apparently confused reporting with revolting, stormed the assembly with all the subtlety of a tap-dancing elephant. The 17-hour standoff that followed saw 50 people held hostage, presumably while democracy filed for early retirement. And for more on this story of bullets, ballots, and bewildering behaviour, we cross to our crime correspondent, Ken Schitt.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm standing here in Yerevan, where democracy just took a bullet to the face. 5 trigger-happy bastards, led by a jumped-up journalist called Nairi Hunanyan, just turned the Armenian parliament into their personal shooting gallery. Prime Minister Vazgen Sargsyan and Speaker Karen Demirchian, 2 of the biggest swinging reformers in Armenian politics, are dead, along with 6 others who showed up to work today expecting to make laws, not become statistics. These grade-A psychopaths waltzed in with their AK-47s like they owned the joint, sprayed lead confetti everywhere, then took 50 people hostage just to get their mugs on TV. They demanded a chopper like this was some kind of Bruce Willis movie. Let me paint you a picture of pure political perversion. These 2 dead leaders had just won an election. They were pushing reforms, they were making waves. Now they're making headlines in the obituaries while President Kocharyan's getting comfortable in his chair. After an 18-hour Mexican standoff that felt longer than my first marriage, these democracy-destroying dirtbags finally surrendered. 3 days of national mourning declared, but folks, democracy in Armenia is going to be mourning a lot longer than that. This is Ken Schitt, reporting from a crime scene that used to be a parliament. Back to the studio.
1904.
Breaking news from 1904, where New York City has just unveiled what can only be described as a giant metal worm burrowing beneath Manhattan. Over 100,000 bewildered citizens have voluntarily descended into these subterranean passages, presumably to escape the horse manure crisis above ground. The 9.1-mile underground railway has been hailed as a triumph of engineering, though questions remain about whether humans were meant to travel like moles. And now, for more on this unprecedented development in American infrastructure, we cross live via our temporal correspondence unit to Melody Wintergreen in New York, 1904.
New York City, 1904. Melody Wintergreen here, deep beneath the bustling streets of Manhattan, where the roar of the city is replaced by the rumble of progress. That's right, folks. The subway has arrived. And let me tell you, it's more exciting than a barrel of monkeys on a runaway trolley. City Hall Station is buzzing with excitement as over 100,000 New Yorkers are eager to ditch the horse-drawn carriages and descend into this subterranean wonder. They're calling it a marvel of engineering, a triumph of modern technology. But honey, it looks like a giant metal earthworm to me. Conductor Horace Horatio Harding, a man who looks like he was born with a pocket watch and a striped cap, is at the controls, practically bouncing with excitement. "All aboard for the future!" he shouts as the gleaming steel carriage pulls into the station. The passengers surge forward, pushing and shoving like bargain hunters at a Macy's sale. As the train pulls out, plunging into the darkness, the city above holds its breath. Will this underground experiment revolutionize transportation, or will it turn New York into a giant anthill? Only time will tell, but for now, the excitement is contagious. This is Melody Wintergreen, Newsbang, reporting from the bowels of the Big Apple, where the future is underground, and the only thing missing is a decent cup of coffee.
It aired News Bang, navigating the molasses of misinformation, one fact at a time. It is 2004.
And now, from Boston, where history has been made at Fenway Park, our sports correspondent Ryder Boff has this report on what can only be described as the most extraordinary night in baseball since records began.
And now, live from Boston in 2004, where the Red Sox have just done the unthinkable. They've beaten the St. Louis Cardinals like a granny beating a dusty rug on washing day. The curse of the Bambino, that's Babe Ruth to those of you who didn't attend my fascinating sports history lectures at the Penge Working Men's Club, has finally been lifted after 86 years of misery, which is exactly 1 year longer than 85 years. And there's Pedro Martinez warming up in the bullpen. He's throwing at exactly 91 miles per hour, which is nearly 92 miles per hour, but not quite as fast as 93. The Cardinals lineup looking more nervous than me at my third wedding, which chronologically speaking was actually my second. Speaking of curses, it reminds me of the time I was hexed by a fortune teller in Clacton-on-Sea. She said I'd never work in television again after I accidentally sat on her crystal ball. Shows what she knows. I'm still here, albeit with a slightly glass-marked bottom. Oh, and here's Kurt Schilling on the mound with that famous bloody sock. He's limping more than he was yesterday, but less than he will be tomorrow. The blood stain is getting larger and larger, but somehow staying exactly the same size. But back to Boston, where manager Terry Two Socks Francona has orchestrated what can only be described as a miracle more impressive than the time my Aunt Mabel's budgie predicted the 1983 Grand National winner. First, they came back from 3-0 down against the Yankees, a feat as rare as finding a vegetarian at a butcher's convention. What a play by Manny Ramirez. He's caught that ball before it was even hit. The Cardinals looking absolutely shell-shocked, and who can blame them? They haven't scored any runs since the last time they scored. That's the kind of statistical insight you only get from watching the game with both eyes open. David Big Pappy Ortiz has been hitting balls further than my career prospects after that unfortunate incident with John Burt at the BBC Christmas party. Keith Folke, closing games tighter than my wallet at an all-you-can-eat buffet. And speaking of Ortiz, he's just hit another one. The ball is going, and it's gone further than it went. That's his third home run of the night, making it more than 2, but less than 4. The Cardinals pitcher, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else, which he technically is, since we're all moving through space at incredible speeds. And let's not forget Johnny Damon, whose beard makes him look like Jesus if Jesus had been really into baseball instead of carpentry. The Cardinals, bless their cotton socks, which are red just like the Red Sox's Red Sox, never stood a chance. The crowd is going absolutely mental. There's 34,000 people here tonight, which if my math is correct, and it rarely is, means there's exactly twice as many as half that number. They're singing Sweet Caroline, son sai, I've no scan case this summoning. This as this the nature say it's out of some and das says it has to be I've been seeing in the and a Red Sox tradition since they started doing it. And yes, the final out, Boston's done it. They've won the first World Series since the last time they won one, which was before they won this one. This is truly a historic moment in baseball, right up there with the invention of the hot dog and that time in '92 when a pigeon stole Derek Jeter's cap, and which was particularly impressive as Jeter hadn't even been drafted yet. I've been Ryder Boff, and I'll see you next time, assuming the curse that fortune teller put on me doesn't finally kick in.
Now to Norway, for a traffic report that's wetter than a mermaid's knickers. Polly Beep is there.
Brr, Martin, it's a proper deluge out here. Norway is being drenched like a teabag in a typhoon. Anyone planning a trip tonight, best pack your wellies, your sou'wester, and maybe an inflatable dinghy. Over in Namsos, a Widerøe twin otter plane has decided to go for a dip in a fjord. It seems the pilot took a wrong turn and mistook the runway for a water slide. If you're flying tonight, pack your armbands and a good book. You might be waiting a while. Down on the A7 near Bergen, it's more like a water park than a highway. Cars are aquaplaning, drivers are panicking, and I wouldn't be surprised if a few salmon have joined in the fun. On the E6 motorway, visibility is down to pea soup. Fog's so thick you could spread it on toast. Drivers are advised to turn on their headlights, their fog lights, and their prayers. And finally, a bit of good news on the Oslo Ring Road. A helpful moose is directing traffic. He's got those cars moving better than any traffic warden, and I hear he only accepts payment in lingonberries. Maybe we should recruit more moose for traffic control. Just a thought. This is Polly Beep, signing off. Drive safe, my dears, and if you see a moose in a high-vis jacket, do as he says.
The drill, news bang, reality's sledgehammer, silence's nemesis. 1992.
On this day in 1992, a horrific act of violence in Japan exposed the dangerous undercurrent of discrimination within military ranks. The murder of Petty Officer Alan Schindler Jr. would ultimately reshape American military policy and spark a national conversation that continues to echo through the corridors of power today. For more on this watershed moment in military and social history, we cross to our culture correspondent, Smithsonia Moss.
Now, at this point of the evening, we welcome listeners on FM who've just joined us.
Whoa, Newsbang Nation. Smithsonia Moss here, and honey, let's talk about a story that's more tragic than a Shakespearean drama, but with a whole lot less iambic pentameter. We're flashing back to October 27th, 1992, a day that stained the honor of the U.S. Navy and exposed the ugly truth about hate and prejudice within its ranks. It's the story of Alan Schindler Jr., a young sailor who was brutally murdered for simply being who he was, a gay man. Now picture this: Sasebo, Japan, a bustling port city where American sailors are stationed far from home. Alan Schindler, a radio man on the USS Belleau Wood, is a popular guy, known for his kindness, his sense of humor, and his love of Madonna. But there's a dark secret lurking beneath the surface of this seemingly idyllic naval base. Hate, fear, and intolerance are festering, fueled by the military's "don't ask, don't tell" policy, a policy that forced gay and lesbian service members to live in the shadows, hiding their true selves for fear of being discharged. And then, on that fateful night in October, the unthinkable happened. Two of Schindler's shipmates, airman apprentice Terry Helvey and seaman Charles Vins, brutally attacked him in a public restroom. They beat him so savagely, honey, that he was unrecognizable. His body was covered in bruises, his bones were broken, and his face was literally caved in. It was a hate crime of the most vicious kind, a senseless act of violence that shocked the world and exposed the deadly consequences of prejudice. Now the Navy tried to sweep this whole thing under the rug, claiming it was just a random act of violence, a drunken brawl gone wrong. But Dorothy Hodgdis, Alan's mother, wasn't buying it. This fierce mama bear went on a crusade for justice, demanding answers, accountability, and a change in the military's discriminatory policies. She was like a one-woman army, fighting for her son's memory and for the rights of all LGBTQ+ service members. Her fight was long and hard, honey, but it eventually led to the repeal of "Don't Ask, Don't Tell" in 2011. It was a landmark victory for equality, a testament to Dorothy's unwavering determination, and a bittersweet tribute to Alan's memory. But the fight for LGBTQ+ rights is far from over, babes. We still have a long way to go before everyone can serve their country openly and proudly, without fear of discrimination or violence. So let's remember Alan Schindler Jr., not just as a victim, but as a symbol of courage, resilience, and the ongoing fight for equality. And let's honor his mother, Dorothy Hodgdis, a true hero who fought for justice and help change the course of history. Whoa-ho!
News Bang. Yesterday's tomorrow's today.
And finally, let's have a sneak peek at tomorrow's ragbag of rubbish. The Times screams, "Cowardly Yanks flee from brave Brits." The Mail yells, "No, says Greece to Italy." The Independent with, "Will tiny Liechtenstein destroy Europe?" The Mirror leads with, "Snooker shock, Postman whips pro." And the New Statesman, "Well, they've just printed Greek salad with extra feta." And finally, the dog that barks backwards. Good night.
Tune in next time for more artificially intelligent hilarity. News Bang is a comedy show written and recorded by AI. All voices impersonated. Nothing here is real. Good night.